Good morning.
Hey.
All right, tell us your name and a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
My name is Elizabeth Griffin. I'm 19. At the time of the filming, I was 18. I am here today because my good friend wanted to do an interview, so I was like, heck yes. That's a practical reason.
All right, and what would you like the audience to know about filming and the filming process? First thing, what would you want them to know?
Off the top of my head, it's a lot of work. A year after the filming's done, I mean, we're still kind of working on it. I mean, and when I say we, I mean Cassia, and Cassia, I mean even the person who's doing the interview. I mean, yeah, I'm really pulling my weight in this. But anyway, I mean, from the beginning of the creative process, it took a lot of work, research, late nights, coffee, and laughter to maintain sanity. So, yeah. It's a no-brainer, but it's a thing.
Yeah, okay. Talk about a little bit about how we went from the idea of a film to the finished product. What was the process there?
Well, the NTCC Honors Society does an honors film annually, and the idea for the Fergusons was already established by its director due to one of the students' papers pertaining to them.
Which student was that?
Morgan Capps, who wrote I believe an award-winning research paper about the Fergusons. So that sparked the idea. From there, Dr. Yox took a group of students to a research trip in Austin, Texas, at the Briscoe database thingy. It's not a database.
Library,
that's what it is. Man, 21st century. Okay. Yes. And we kind of began looking at these people in the context of history, where they were, who they knew. We were kind of given assignments to research different people who might have overlapped with them. And from there, we kind of began concocting the idea. We realized that certain people that we thought might have something to do with them actually had nothing to do. For instance, I was supposed to research I'm a Hog, don't laugh. And, because she was a potential character that I could play, but we found that would not have been historically accurate. So we scrapped that idea, and I became intrigued with the fact that Jim and Miriam had daughters, and for a while, the Fergusons' only biography was written by their daughter. So I read a copy of that book that Ouida Ferguson wrote, which kind of, I was like, this is fascinating. The family dynamic and, the tension behind closed doors, the bias. So all of that was really interesting.
Tell me, I know you found a particular quote that gave you a lot of insight into the relationship between Miriam, the mother, and your character, Ouida, the daughter. Do you remember talking to me about that quote? Do you remember that quote off the top of your head?
Yes. I can't quote her perfectly, but it's something to the effect of, one daughter is a perfect lady, and the other is a sociable dog, referencing Ouida as an unruly, somewhat embarrassment to her mother, which I found which was really fascinating to explore and kind of take some creative license about why there might have been tension between them. I discovered there was tension between the sisters that was really never resolved. Ouida had a hard life, ended up dying of alcoholism, while her parents governed Texas. So there was a lot of familial drama that we could pull from. And so that I kind of fired off that idea. And then within about a month, the first drafts of the script were sent to us from the honors director, and he was generous enough to let us kind of take the editing and have some fun with it. So through his historical insight, we were able to pull from that to make it as accurate as possible, Morgan Capps was kind of our on-site historian and expert because she did a majority of the research, and so she was a very, very valuable asset. She was kind of like our spell check, except she was history check. So I would like write things, and I'm like, "Is that even right? Is that right?" And she'd be like, "Yeah." And so that was very helpful when we were crafting the human interaction between characters. We had a lot of fun with that.
Cool. Tell me about some of just the goofy things that happened behind the scenes, because when you get a group of college students together, I mean, anything can happen. So tell us some stories about behind the scenes.
There are almost too many to tell. Well, one, I had to French braid a guy's hair because it was long, and I had to make it look short. So,
and he ended up looking like Wesley from The Princess Bride.
Yes, that was interesting. He ended up looking like Wesley, which was really funny. One time, the gentleman that played Jim Ferguson had to look very old, and I was kind of in charge of makeup for hair and makeup.
You were very much in charge.
I was
of makeup.
okay.
Just, you can go ahead and take credit for that. You are our main makeup person because you're an amazing makeup artist, and none of us can do that.
So I was in charge of hair and makeup, particularly that became particularly necessary when we dealt with age, and so. The guy that played Jim Ferguson, he needed age makeup for his death scene, and so I did that on him, and we were getting ready to film that. It was probably like, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, something like that. Mm-hmm. Ugh. But I did it on him, and I had no mirror because of where we were. We were in a cabin. But after he was finished, he went up to the bathroom to see the finished product, to see what he looked like, and he came back so much in character as an old man. I mean, and this went on for probably like 45 minutes to an hour.
Before you even started filming this
Before
scene.
we started filming the scene, he was just being an old man. And, I mean, I was never so impressed with somebody's improv acting skills. I mean, I was blown away. I was like, I am a performance major, and I believe you right now. I mean, it was hysterical. And, I mean, so that was definitely one of the most hilarious just things that just happened. I was like, okay. And of course, all of the messing around with the camera, singing, and little improv shenanigans that just happened across the board. After a while, everybody got pretty tired. And I think there was good bonding because everybody was pulling the same weight for the most part. Everybody was really good at participating and doing really well and helping. So, I mean, with that said, you wake up at 7 in the morning, you get to work, you go to bed at like maybe 1 o'clock, and everybody's eventually deranged and giggling at everything. So, I still haven't recovered.
Tell me, there's a little rumor that I heard through the grapevine that you and another actress whom I am not at all familiar with, sarcasm, may have kind of tricked the rest of the group a little bit?
Yes. If we're thinking about the same thing.
It may have involved a very popular Disney film.
Oh, she's probing me. Okay. This was a very funny story, and I think the interviewer probably could tell it better, but we were all eating breakfast at this awesome bed and breakfast. That is one thing that our honors director is really great at doing, is finding really random, really cool places to stay, among other talents. But we were all eating breakfast, and we got on the subject of Disney movies, and eventually Frozen came up, as is natural. So Cassia and I have this weird thing about, I'm going to look at you when I say that because that's Cassia. Cassia and I have this weird thing where usually we can kind of tell what the other person's thinking. Sometimes that doesn't work, and when it doesn't, it's like, code red, we have a breach or something like that. But usually if things are running smoothly, we can usually jump on that bandwagon. And so
it helps that we are both performers.
Yes, we're both theater majors and occasionally have a malicious sense of humor, and this was one of those times. So somebody mentioned Frozen, and Cassia and I exchanged glances, and I don't remember who said it first. I really don't, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, one of us said, wait, Frozen? What's Frozen? And, I mean, it was dead quiet in the room. Like, it kind of spread. Like, first people didn't understand what was happening, but the people we were talking to were like, what? I'm like, I've never seen this. And then the other person jumped on and caught on like, And then the other person went, wait, what are we talking about? And so we played dumb for probably a good 10 minutes, and Sweet Morgan Caps was the only one who knew us well enough to know that we were messing with everybody. And she just, like, you know, was eating her morning melons and just didn't say anything. I mean, she was, like, glancing down at her napkin like, poor unfortunate souls. But we had them going, and eventually, like, the whole table was rioting. Like, how can you call yourselves theater Disney major, or Disney theater majors or whatever, and not know what Frozen is? And we were just like, it was funny because we were laughing because we were fooling them, but at the same time, it helped because it made us look like we felt bad. Like, sorry, we don't know what Frozen is. What do you want us to do?
I remember one thing that you said was, it sounds like a good movie when they explained the plot to us, because they're like, you've really never seen this? And when you said that, I almost lost it. You were like, it sounds like it would be something that we would like, but we just don't know.
I just never got around to it, you know? And so we kept it going for a while, and I would have been content to let them believe it. Cash was like, Liz, come on, let's just...
So, do you remember how we broke the truth to them?
I actually don't. How did we...
We started singing.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, then we started singing from Frozen, and then they were like, you're terrible! And so that was a funny moment. Another one that also happened at the breakfast table, can I say this on camera? Can I talk about the... Can I talk about the word? Dang it! For another time.
What else?
Funny stories like that. Well, we ate at a German restaurant.
We did.
In costume.
We did do that.
So I went as a flapper.
And you looked great.
Not proud. Not proud.
But the food was great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, German food rocks. I mean, it doesn't get any better than fried meat and potatoes, and we had, like, tiramisu or something, and you had German chocolate cake, I think. Yeah.
I said really good.
Really good. Not so healthy, but really good.
Can you think of anything? What were some things that were difficult about the film, maybe that you didn't expect?
I didn't necessarily have any expectations one way or another.
Now, this was not your first honors film.
It was not my first honors film. I'd done, I think, three before that, but I had never had as much control or influence over how things went. This honors film was unique because it was the first one that was edited and rewritten to some degree by students themselves. In the past, Dr. Yox took that upon himself, and so this was academically straining because it was how many pages was the script? Like 50? More than, something like that.
I mean, it's an hour and a half film.
It's an hour and a half film.
A lot of pages.
It was a lot of pages worth of dialogue, and based on how circumstances hashed themselves out, we found ourselves under a 3-day time crunch because of a deadline that we weren't aware of. And so in order to rewrite everything to our satisfaction, we had to work something like 10 hours a day on average. I mean, one time we were up till 4, Cassia was up till 7. rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. We had to organize it like, okay, we had the script color coded. Okay, Morgan can rewrite this stuff because she knows about this. Cassia can rewrite this stuff because she knows about this, and I can rewrite this stuff because I know about that. And so we divided and conquered, but it was definitely one of the most strenuous writing projects I've ever done, and I'm very grateful for the experience. But that was difficult. When you're trying to coordinate who films what where, I didn't have as much of a hand in that. Thankfully, we had an excellent director, Jessica, right? Yeah, Jessica did an amazing job with and working with Cassia to figure out what was filming what, when, where. We had people that were willing to do the math and figure out how old everybody was in each scene, so we knew, okay, do they need serious age makeup right now, or what? And that was invaluable. I didn't even know we would need that. So we had so many brains working together to contribute their talents to pull it off and make it work, because I was like, I do not have enough brain juice to figure that out. I'm like, I'm still struggling with Cassia's hair, which, irrelevant but true, she's got these long, luscious, thick, silky locks. I mean, I'm sure, like, China would buy them, but they are so heavy, and it's like you try to get a curling iron, it's like...
It makes that noise, too.
It does, and I'm like, I mean, how many times have I done your hair for stuff? A lot. And so, yeah, I was struggling. We came up with the Harriet helmet, which we still laugh about. Eventually what happened, what it took, I'm sorry, but what it took was, like, tightening her hair around, like, a chopstick, taking it out, pinning it down, so she literally had rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of hair, and then, like, I took this part, like, and she had a helmet, like, that's what you had to do, and get off that my chest. Okay, good, we can move on.
But you did an amazing job, and anyone who looks at the hair and makeup in the film will realize that you did an amazing job.
Well, thank you, darling, but the point of the story of that was, like, my brain was so preoccupied with just that. I mean, and had we not had so many people who knew how to take care of other stuff, I mean, it wouldn't have happened, which is like, duh, but it was a huge, huge help that we had so many people that were so great.
What was the most fun part of the filming process?
The most fun for me was getting to craft a screenplay, but then watching it be performed. That was really fun. I love to write creatively, and although we were constrained by historical accuracy to a point, there was a lot of room for creative fun, and, like, wouldn't it be interesting if we did it like this? Or we don't need to do it like that. We can do it like this. Things like that. Obviously, working with one of my favorite thespians was a pleasure. And, you know, when you like to act and you're around other people that act well, it's also a blast. So that was super fun, seeing different people interpret the script in maybe a way that I wouldn't have, but really liked. Like, I didn't see it like that. That's great. So that is always fun.
Do you have anything else that you want the audience to know?
Eat your vegetables. Support the troops. Happy election year.
All right.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for your time and
thank you
for the insight that you have given us into the crazy and fun things that happen behind the scenes of Ma and Pa Ferguson.
I get it. Will you edit out the fact that I scratched my nose?
If I can.
If not, leave it.